Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Yes, now let me tell y'all straight off the top, I have I want to say love-hate, but this show I wasn't quite sure about. Okay, but we're going to get into all things Them season 2, the scare, all of the trauma, generational trauma, and how sometimes when you don't confront that trauma, it will follow you. So let's get into it. Now, if you're new here, I'm Denise Brady. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I love TV, reality TV, all those things. So if you want a real, 100% real recap of these shows, my opinions, my feedback, my therapist cap, along with my spidey sense come together and we bridge this channel together. So make sure you like and subscribe. Now, okay, first of all, if you follow me on TikTok, you know I said I was 6 episodes deep and I was still like, what is going on? Okay, this show confused the F out of me. Okay, and it was like, how am I at episode 6? I'm this deep and I'm still trying to figure out what's happening. I wasn't quite sure if it was me. I fell asleep at times. I started doing stuff around the house. There were just so many complexities to this show. So many things they try to take from other directors, time periods, Spike Lee, all these different things that they tried to include in this show. At times, I think it kind of distracted you from the main core of the show. Now, the acting is top notch. Okay, give Luke James, give Old Girl, I'm gonna give them all the awards, everything, because they did act the F out of this show, okay? But at times, I think them being such good actors and this storyline and then all this other stuff got confuddled into just like, where are we? What are we doing? Okay, what is really going on? I think sometimes shows get caught up in trying to add so much layers, complexity, depth into their characters that it's like, I don't want to feel exhausted from watching a show. And at times I felt exhausted, but you know, I ain't no punk. So I'm like, okay, I'm already 6 episodes deep. I gotta keep going. I can't give up. Okay. And so we have these 2 main people, Edmund and the police officer, Don. Okay. And there's gonna be a lot of spoilers in here. So sorry. Okay. Now, okay, when we start off, we have Don going into this in the 80s, trying to solve this crime at this home, racism, all that stuff plays a huge part. And you have Edmund, this character who is lost, trying to be found, trying to be seen, trying to start this acting career, but slowly it unravels. Slowly, okay? It was a slow burn, okay? 6 episodes deep, it was a slow burn. But I kept going because I'm like, I ain't no quitter. And then we finally get to the juiciness. Now, to me, any show, it should not take 7 to 8 episodes for it to finally be like, okay, aha, it's here. It makes sense, okay? Finally. But let's get into it, okay? Now, a lot of the tropes, a lot of the themes of this show, they all connected. And if you watch it all the way to the end, you put it all together. And so we have 2 people who, spoiler alerts, I'm gonna give y'all a second to pause the video. We have these 2 people who are, in a sense, living 2 separate lives. Okay, and we're wondering, what is this being, what is this thing that is following everybody? And then it comes that the thing is the trauma, in my eyes. When you don't deal with your trauma, it follows you. And it consumes relationships, it consumes you as a person. And it gets so big that you have to, at some point, deal with it. And I think Edmund had so much trauma, generational trauma, that everybody around him who had a life better than his, or who contributed to his feeling like I was left behind, he had to take care of. He had to get rid of. His trauma consumed him to the point where he gave in. Okay? Now, the Raggedy Ann theme, we see that also. And I want to go a little bit deeper about the Raggedy Ann thing, because you see how the red hair on the doll, that doll is a center figure. From the beginning, you see that doll over and over again. You see these yarns of hair, okay? Now, to me, the yarns of hair really symbolized the rope, the tightness of the trauma. And you see often different scenes where people are getting caught up and entangled in the red hair, in the yarn. It's consuming. The red is consuming. Now, what does red represent? Now, this video is going a little bit deep, okay? Red oftentimes represents anger, distraught, despair. And that's what a lot of that yarn and all these different scenes that we saw really represented, was the anger, the trauma, and different people got caught up in it literally and could not get out of it, okay? Even when you see Edmund getting caught up in it now, okay? The twist was that Edmund and Don are twins. Now, I knew she was his brother, or y'all know what I meant. I knew that they were siblings, but it never occurred to me until they told us that they were twins. Now, that is a twist. Now, I must say also, it would probably be a good idea to watch season 1 of this show before you watch season 2, because there's like some things that at the very end we get connected together. But maybe if I had watched season 1 first, it wouldn't have been so like, what are we doing here? Okay, what are we doing? So it comes out that they're twins, and one twin, Pam Grier, being the source, that mother wound. I know I like to talk about mother wounds. The source of the core of the trauma. The core negative belief that Edmund had about himself was related to Pam Grier. Okay, unfortunately, they were twins, and Edmund had a little bit something at the beginning that psychologically was not put together. Okay, and so they got separated, and unfortunately, Edmund ended up going back to this home that caused a lot of abuse, trauma. We see a lot of what we see in the system in this show with DCFS, people being forgotten about, foster parents just making foster care, I guess they're called resource parents now, but you know what I mean, a business. I'm not here to take care of this child. I'm here for the coin. The more children I take in, the more medically fragile, the more issues they have, the bigger the check. Now, you didn't know that. That's the true tea, is that a lot of people use foster care as a way to make money, not take care of these kids. The worse off the child is on paper, mentally, physically, the more money they get. So if you have one kid that's gonna give you 5 G's a month, you probably gonna start taking in more. And that is a system of being a foster parent. Not everyone's like that, I'm not gonna say that, but a lot of them are. So you have this crazy foster parents who literally abuse them mentally, physically, oftentimes would put them in a box to punish them. And all they had in that box was that little straw of air. Notice the box was also red, okay? There are a lot of themes of red throughout this show. Okay, and so they're twins. Okay, he had to go back and live, you know, with that angry, abusive, psychotic foster parent, whereas Don in his eyes got to live the life. Okay, and so now we see this being, this person, this thing, this trauma. It's the image of trauma, the Raggedy Ann. Okay. The hair, the body, it was all related to the trauma, this doll. And so I want to know, did you guys connect the dots to all this red, the yarn, the Raggedy Ann doll, okay? And how when you don't deal with your trauma will catch up to you. And the one thing that kind of like pissed me off that didn't make any sense to me was when they tried to put together that Don was the one doing all these crimes, unaliving all these people. You know YouTube don't like some of these words, so all these crimes that were happening, what sense did it ever make that Don could have done all this stuff? Okay, this black woman, but of course the black woman is gonna get railroaded for the crime because we got to pin on somebody. And once again, we see, is his name Spectre from Power, that white lawyer, whatever he was, detective, same image, same thing on this show, railroading people. Ain't no way this woman could have committed these crimes, but you know, once again, it shows the level of racism, the level of just like railroading that the police force at times has. Because I hate that part, because it made no sense to me. How are y'all gonna think she really did all this? Okay, y'all just need to pin on somebody. Y'all just hated her for being. She was one of the only, I think, black women police officers at that station. When I seen her walk around the office in the beginning, I'm like, oh, she's like the only one. How is that gonna play a role? But you see how Edmund wanted to take everything away from her. He was trying to pull her in, okay? Trying to very much take away the one thing that she did love was her son. So he's like, oh, and was it really Edmund or was it really the trauma? Because at some point they come together, but it was really Edmund's trauma. And I would love to see one of y'all therapists out there who does parts work really analyzes, because I don't do IFS therapy. I'm not a parts person, but I could see someone who studies parts work could really put together a great video about this this show. But it shows you how that mother wound, okay? You know, I want you. The trauma wanted her. That was the core. If you had not taken me back to that place, my life in the trauma's eyes and Edmund's eyes would have been different. And ultimately, off with her head, literally, okay? And so it shows you just how, towards the end, she had to confront the trauma, okay? But was it really the end? Because we see how life gets better, the trauma we think is gone, but that ending shows you, to me, she has not dealt with her own trauma. Okay, that was Edmund's trauma. All this was about Edmund's trauma. But to me, that character at the very end, the Bojangles looking person, shows me like, oh, I'm still here. You have not dealt with me. And now if you don't want to deal with your trauma, I'm always going to be right here. Okay, I'm lingering. So it shows you how you need to deal with your trauma. Okay, you have to work through it, because what is the core belief that you have about yourself? Is it related to the parent dynamic? Is it there's some things of abandonment in your life? You have to work through your trauma, or your trauma will deal with you. And a lot of people have parental wounds that they're not dealing with. And you just see how over and over again, Edmund was fighting against the trauma. He was really trying to fight, but in the end, he succumbed. And a lot of people don't realize they have already succumbed to their trauma. But until you really sit down and you confront it, you deal with, you acknowledge that you have parental wounds, maybe some abandonment, whatever is that core belief you have about yourself, that trauma and those core beliefs come together, your relationships are never going to be what they are. You're never going to be able to succeed in your career, similar to Edmund. You're always going to be looking to be seen. You're always going to be wanting connection, and you're always going to be wondering, what would my life have been like, possibly, if these things have not happened? If I had had better parents, would my life have been better? But this is pretty much kind of a deep dive on this show, okay? But of course, let me know your thoughts. Now, okay, make sure you like, you subscribe, because I want you to come back. You know you love it, okay? You love it. Now, let me know your thoughts in the comments, because of course, we will get active over here. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.